1. Your brain is one of the few organs that doesn't feel pain. Did you know your brain can process pain, but it doesn't actually feel it? It sounds unbelievable, but it's absolutely true. Unlike your skin, muscles, or other internal organs, the brain itself has no pain receptors. That means while it controls every sensation in your body, including pain, it's incapable of sensing pain from within. This fact is so fascinating that it's used in medicine. During certain brain surgeries, patients can be kept awake while surgeons operate on specific areas of the brain. The patient might be asked to speak, move their hands, or answer questions, helping doctors avoid damaging critical areas responsible for speech, memory, or movement. You might wonder then, what about headaches? If your brain can't feel pain, how do you experience migraines or head pain? Well, headaches are caused by the tissues, blood vessels, and nerves surrounding the brain. These structures have pain receptors, and they send signals to the brain, which processes them as pain. So next time you feel a headache pounding, remember, it's not your brain hurting. It's everything around it. A strange but incredible design of nature. 2. The strongest bone in your body is the femur. Out of the 206 bones in your body, one stands out as the absolute powerhouse, your femur. Also known as the thigh bone, the femur is the longest, largest, and strongest bone you have. In fact, it's so strong that it can support up to 4 times the weight of reinforced concrete. Under ideal conditions, a single femur can withstand the pressure of roughly 1 ton. Why is it so durable? The femur is designed to bear the weight of your entire upper body and transfer that weight efficiently through your knees to your feet. Its structure combines lightness with incredible strength, thanks to its dense outer shell and a spongy, shock-absorbing core. Even more fascinating, the femur's durability has inspired architects and engineers in designing structures that require a combination of strength and flexibility. Ancient and modern builders alike have looked to human anatomy for clues on how to build better. Despite its toughness, the femur isn't indestructible. In extreme cases like car accidents or falls from great heights, it can fracture. And when it does, it's considered one of the most painful and serious injuries a person can endure. Even more fascinating, the femur isn't indestructible. In extreme cases like car accidents or falls from great heights, it can fracture. And when it does, it's considered one of the most painful and serious injuries a person can endure. Despite its toughness, the femur isn't indestructible. In extreme cases like car accidents or falls from great heights, it can fracture. And when it does, it's considered one of the most painful and serious injuries a person can endure. Have you ever been shocked by the sound of your own recorded voice? It happens to almost everyone. That's because the voice you hear when you speak is very different from the one others hear. Have you ever been shocked by the sound of your own recorded voice? It happens to almost everyone. That's because the voice you hear when you speak is very different from the one others hear. That's because the voice you hear when you speak is very different from the one others hear. When you talk, you hear your voice through 2 channels. The sound waves traveling through the air and the vibrations traveling through the bones of your skull. The internal bone-conducted sound makes your voice seem deeper and fuller to you. However, when you listen to a recording, you're only hearing the external sound transmitted through the air. The absence of those internal vibrations makes your voice sound thinner, higher-pitched, and sometimes unrecognizable. This discrepancy is why so many people dislike the sound of their recorded voice. It sounds foreign because it lacks the depth and resonance added by your skull's internal acoustics. It's a fascinating detail about human perception and how our brains process sound differently, depending on its source. Next time you cringe at a voice message, remember, that's how everyone else hears you, and it's perfectly normal. 5. Your nose and ears never stop growing. It might sound like a myth, but it's a strange fact of human biology. Your nose and ears never stop growing. While most parts of your body stop developing after puberty, these two features continue to grow slowly throughout your entire life. Why does this happen? It's all about cartilage, the flexible, rubbery tissue that makes up your nose and the outer parts of your ears. Unlike bone, cartilage doesn't have the same genetic instructions to stop growing after a certain point. Even as you age, cartilage cells continue to divide, causing gradual enlargement. To make it more dramatic, gravity also plays a role. Over decades, the weight of your nose and ears pulls downward, making them appear longer and more droopy as time passes. That's one reason older people often have noticeably larger noses and ears compared to when they were younger. It's a subtle but fascinating reminder that your body is never truly static. Even long after you've stopped growing taller or building muscle, small, almost invisible changes are constantly happening. This clever design allows us to share a single passage for both air and food while minimizing the risk of suffocation. However, it's not perfect, which is why people sometimes choke or cough when eating too quickly or laughing while drinking. Interestingly, some animals have separate pathways to breathing and eating, reducing their risk of choking entirely. In humans, though, this design may have evolved to accommodate the complex vocal abilities that allow for speech. So next time you gulp down a drink, appreciate the precision of your body's hidden survival systems working in perfect sync. Everything you see is actually upside down. What if I told you that every image you see is initially upside down? It's true. The way your eyes process the world around you is more like a camera than you might think. When light enters your eye, it passes through the lens, which bends or refracts the light and projects it onto the retina at the back of your eye. Because of the way lenses work, this image is flipped upside down. Technically, you perceive the world inverted at first. But here's the genius part. Your brain instantly interprets and flips the image right side up without you ever noticing. It does this through complex neurological processes developed during infancy. If it didn't, you'd see everything backwards and upside down. In fact, experiments where people wear inversion goggles that flip the world upside down show that the brain can eventually adapt and start seeing the flipped images as normal after a few days. It's a mind-bending example of how your body and brain work together to create a seamless version of reality, even when what you're actually seeing defies logic. 9. Your taste buds are temporary. Ever wondered why your food preferences change over the years? It's because your taste buds, those tiny sensory organs responsible for detecting flavors, aren't permanent. In fact, they regenerate every 10 to 14 days. At any given time, your tongue holds about 2,000 to 8,000 taste buds, each containing dozens of receptor cells that detect sweetness, bitterness, saltiness, sourness, and umami, savory. These cells have a short lifespan, constantly dying off and being replaced by new ones. This biological turnover means your sense of taste is always evolving. That's why a food you hated as a kid, like broccoli or olives, might become a favorite as you grow older. As new taste buds form and your brain's taste memory adapts, your perception of flavors shifts. Interestingly, factors like smoking, illness, aging, and certain medications can affect how quickly your taste buds regenerate. It's also why food seems bland when you have a cold. Your taste receptors rely on the sense of smell to work properly, and nasal congestion dulls both. So next time you dislike a dish, give it a few years. Your future taste buds might surprise you. Your stomach can expand up to 40 times its size. Your stomach is far more elastic than you might think. While it starts out about the size of a clenched fist, it can expand up to 40 times its original size after a large meal. This incredible stretch is made possible by its smooth muscle tissue and highly foldable inner lining, called rugae. When empty, these folds are tightly packed, but as food enters, the stomach walls relax and expand to accommodate the increasing volume. Under normal conditions, your stomach can hold about 1 liter of food and liquid, but it's capable of expanding to hold up to 4 liters. That's why, after a big meal, you sometimes feel like you couldn't possibly eat another bite, but still manage to make room for dessert. This elasticity is also one reason competitive eaters can train their stomachs to handle enormous amounts of food by gradually stretching their stomach walls over time. It's a fascinating example of your body's built-in adaptability. Designed for survival in times when food was scarce and binging during feasts was a practical strategy. Your brain uses 20% of your body's energy. Though it weighs only about 2% of your total body weight, your brain is an energy hog. Even when you're sitting quietly, doing nothing in particular, it consumes roughly 20% of your body's energy resources. Why so much? The brain is constantly processing information, maintaining body temperature, regulating breathing, managing your heart rate, and running countless background processes, all while keeping you alert and ready for action. Its electrical impulses operate at the equivalent of a 10-watt light bulb. But when you're intensely focused, problem-solving, or experiencing strong emotions, energy consumption spikes even higher. This is why mental exhaustion can feel just as draining as physical fatigue. Interestingly, the brain runs on glucose, the same simple sugar that fuels your muscles. This is why skipping meals or blood sugar crashes often lead to brain fog, irritability, and headaches. Despite advances in neuroscience, we still don't fully understand how the brain manages such enormous demands with remarkable efficiency, a mystery that continues to fascinate scientists today. You can't tickle yourself. Ticklishness is a curious quirk of the human nervous system, but have you noticed you can't tickle yourself? It's because your brain is too smart for that. When you attempt to tickle your own skin, your brain predicts the exact sensations that will follow. It knows the timing, pressure, and location of your movements, which cancels out the element of surprise, a critical component of what makes tickling effective. When someone else tickles you, however, your brain perceives it as unexpected, triggering an automatic defensive response, laughter and squirming. It's thought that this reaction evolved as a way to protect sensitive areas of the body, like the ribs, underarms, and feet, from potential harm. Studies using brain imaging show that the cerebellum, the part of your brain responsible for motor control, detects self-generated movements and suppresses the tickle response. This built-in system helps your brain filter out unnecessary reactions to its own signals. It's a small but fascinating demonstration of how your mind constantly distinguishes between self and external stimuli, keeping your reflex sharp and your behavior socially appropriate. Studies using brain imaging show that the cerebellum, the part of your brain responsible for motor control, detects self-generated movements and suppresses the tickle response. This built-in system helps your brain filter out unnecessary reactions to its own signals. It's a small but fascinating demonstration of how your mind constantly distinguishes between self and external stimuli, keeping your reflexes sharp and your behavior socially appropriate. While this shrinkage isn't permanent, over a lifetime, age-related degeneration of those discs means we all lose a bit of height as we grow older. This natural fluctuation might seem minor, but it's a clear example of how dynamic and responsive the human body is. It also explains why morning stretching feels so relieving. It helps realign your spine after hours of lying down. While this shrinkage isn't permanent, over a lifetime, age-related degeneration of those discs means we all lose a bit of height as we grow older. You dream every night, even if you don't remember. Every night, your brain becomes an incredibly creative storyteller, even if you don't recall it by morning. Scientists estimate that most people experience 3 to 6 dreams per night during REM, rapid eye movement sleep, the stage when brain activity peaks. In these dreams, your brain activates areas linked to memory, emotion, and imagination, weaving together images, sounds, and feelings into narratives that often defy logic. The result? Bizarre, vivid, and sometimes unsettling experiences while you sleep. A fascinating fact: every face you see in a dream is real. Your brain can't invent entirely new faces. Instead, it pulls from a vast mental archive of people you've encountered, even if just for a split second on a crowded street or in a movie. While many dreams fade from memory within minutes of waking, they play a crucial role in emotional processing, memory consolidation, and creative problem solving. Even though dreams remain one of science's great mysteries, we know they're essential to brain health. So next time you wake up after a strange dream, remember, it's your mind's way of sorting through life's puzzles while you sleep. During puberty, your brain gets completely rewired. Adolescence isn't just a time of physical growth. It's also when your brain undergoes one of its most dramatic transformations. During puberty, the brain eliminates unused neural connections and builds new, more efficient networks, essentially rewiring itself. This process, called synaptic pruning, removes weak or rarely used pathways, allowing the brain to focus energy on strengthening connections that support important skills like decision-making, social behavior, and emotional control. At the same time, new connections are being formed, especially in areas linked to reward processing and impulse control. This neurological remodeling explains why teenagers often experience intense emotions, risk-taking behaviors, and seemingly irrational decisions. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, self-control, and judgment, is one of the last areas to fully mature, often not completing its development until the mid-20s. Though frustrating for parents and teens alike, this period of brain reconstruction is essential for shaping an adaptable, independent adult brain. It's one of the reasons adolescence is so memorable, confusing, and intense. The brain is being rebuilt from the ground up.